Well, meanwhile, with everything playing out in Capitol Hill, President Trump is preparing to travel to his private Florida club today for 2 days of high-stakes meeting with the president of China. And joining me now from Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, is our Margaret Brennan. Margaret, what do you think will be the major topic of discussion here between these two leaders?
Well, this is the most consequential foreign policy relationship for the United States that there is right now. The U.S. and China, both economic behemoths, will be trying to hash out some of the trade disputes they have here. In many ways, the U.S. and China are reliant on each other, some of their own best customers, so to speak. But on the campaign trail, if you remember, President Trump repeatedly, consistently at his rallies would bash China, accusing them at one point of, quote, raping the U.S. economy. He's really toning down that rhetoric. He's going to try to hit reset here and try to find common ground with Xi Jinping, who is a very influential, very powerful, charismatic leader in China. And so you have these two men who sort of pride themselves as tough guys who are going to be sitting down and trying to find some common ground, at least to confront North Korea. That is the most urgent issue, the growing nuclear threat there. Clearly, Kim Jong-un, the mercurial leader there who's been testing missiles and growing his nuclear program, does not fear China's pushback here if he continues to fire off missiles, and he is defiant in the face of American warnings that someone's going to take action, if not together, but on their own, as President Trump warned in a print interview recently this week. So there's a lot to be discussed. But Rena, we also have the issue of Syria overhanging this, and we know President Trump's military advisors will be with him down here in Florida, and we expect him to receive briefings.
Margaret, you were mentioning about how the president's trying to tone down the rhetoric a little bit. He's put a lot of pressure recently on President Xi with public comments and his tweets. Does the White House think that that strategy will work with China?
That's a high risk, really, because if you look at Chinese diplomacy, it's highly scripted, it's very deliberate, it's all about protocol. We're talking about a president of the United States that prides himself on really not upholding any of those things, being unexpected and really sort of bucking the norm. And so that's what's going to be so interesting to see here. To the degree we have any visibility, there's not a lot of press allowed in or around these meetings. But what we know from White House advisors is that they are really looking at the consequences here of implementing some of the rhetoric that President Trump talked about on the campaign trail. Remember, he promised to label China currency manipulator on day one. That didn't happen. Remember, he talked about slapping tariffs on China to really sort of punish them for having this trade imbalance, because their production level is so cheap. It makes Chinese products very buyable and keeps prices down here in the U.S. President Trump says, oh, buy American, I'm going to punish China. That hasn't happened. So a lot of these things that were promised on the campaign trail while in office, now President Trump is reassessing, because clearly this global economy doesn't allow for that to actually be implemented here. What he did follow through on was that promise to rip up that Trans-Pacific Partnership. That was that Asia-Pacific deal that was meant to be a counterweight to China's dominance in Asia. So in that way, Xi Jinping walks into this summit saying, well, look, I've got to win in my court, because no longer are these Asian countries banding together to push back against me. Maybe we can have a deal here on some of these trade and investment issues. But a lot of these things are the same issues that bedeviled President Obama and other past leaders here when it comes to just cheap production levels in China, when it comes to China's trajectory here. Many national security analysts would say what is in America's best interest is actually a strong, economically prosperous China, because as soon as that economy gets weak, that's when these nationalist tendencies break out. That's when you see military conflict. So you've got a push-pull within the administration right now from those old China hands who are warning and saying, don't follow through on those campaign promises, and the populist nationalist rhetoric that helped get President Trump elected.
Yeah, a lot riding on this one. It'll be interesting to see what the markets do if they respond to anything. Margaret Brennan in Florida. Margaret, thank you.